This pre-application informational video explains the Colorado Circular Community's mini-grant funding opportunity. In this video, we will review what you need to know before you apply, as well as application and eligibility requirements and what to expect post-award. Before you apply. First, it is important to understand the definitions of a few keywords utilized in C3's funding process. Criteria is approved by the C3 Board of Directors, including requirements mandated by House Bill 24-1449. Eligibility for potential funding is based on the C3 Board of Directors approved criteria. Application review is the C3 review process of an application based on the C3 Board approved criteria. We recommend that you read the C3 strategic plan. All projects will be prioritized according to their alignment with the C3 strategic plan. Applicants must be able to explain precisely how a project meets the strategic plan's goals and strategies. You may view this plan by scanning the QR code or visiting the C3 website. Mini grants are funding opportunities designed for small, quick purchases. For example, signage for a recycling drop-off site, collection bins, or a truck. Applications for C3 mini grants are always open, and awards are up to $50,000 for projects which can be completed within 6 months. These grants are not designed to meet urgent or emergency needs. Please note that all applicants are limited to one grant award per calendar year. You may apply multiple times for C3 funding, but you may only be awarded funding once per calendar year. Please read the grant guidelines, which include important information about eligibility, application requirements, questions, evaluation details, and timeline. Scan the QR code or visit our website to view the grant guidelines. Meeting with staff is not required to submit a mini grant application. If you have questions that are not answered in the grant guidelines or on the C3 website, you may contact C3 staff by scanning the QR code or visiting our website. Speaking with staff will not impact your application review. If you need technical assistance, contact c3.grantmanagement@state.co.us. Mini grant requirements. Eligible entities for mini grants include municipalities, tribes, counties, and cities and counties, including unincorporated areas, nonprofit organizations, for-profit organizations, institutions of higher learning, and public and private schools. Other requirements include being registered and in good standing with the Colorado Secretary of State, being in operation for a minimum of 1 year, being in good standing with all applicable laws, permits, and regulations, and you must have not received C3 funding within the past calendar year. Total funding available for the mini grant opportunities is $1 million per year and is awarded on an ongoing basis. A maximum of $50,000 may be awarded per project. Eligible projects must contribute to the advancement of a circular economy in Colorado and be related to a specific goal of the C3 strategic plan. Eligible expenses include, but are not limited to, equipment and supplies, signage, outreach and education, repairs, and contractual labor expenses that are related to the project execution and can be completed in 6 months or less from the date the funding agreement is executed. For more details on eligible and ineligible grant expenses, please carefully review the grant guidelines before applying. Ineligible projects include projects that do not promote a circular economy in Colorado, are located outside of Colorado, and waste-to-energy projects, excluding biochar production and anaerobic digestion. Ineligible expenses include general operating expenses associated with an existing program or service, such as rent, utilities, insurance, office equipment and supplies, or personnel expenses, leases, lease-to-own, mortgages, real property, office space, travel, financed vehicles, equipment or supplies funded by a loan where the awardee does not hold the title or rights to the item, lobbying or government advocacy efforts, fundraising events and activities, research, studies, indirect costs, subscriptions, memberships, and scholarships. Any funds spent before full execution of an agreement with C3 are not eligible. For more details on eligible and ineligible grant expenses, please carefully review the grant guidelines before applying. The mini grant application is available on the C3 website. Completion of the form includes the first 5 questions, which are eligibility questions. If you take the eligibility survey and do not pass, please do not proceed with the application. If you have questions about your eligibility, refer to the grant guidelines. If there is a red asterisk next to a field on the form, it is a required field. Please be sure to read all information in a field before filling in your response. If you need to save a draft of your application as you're working on the form, you have 2 options. The form may save your information should you accidentally close the browser window. When you return to the form, a pop-up window may appear to ask you to continue from where you were last. To do so, please click Confirm. If you'd like to start a new application, you can click Reset. To ensure your draft is saved, click the Save as Draft button at the bottom of the form. You do not need to complete the reCAPTCHA prompt to save a draft. When you click Save as Draft, a pop-up will appear, and you must save the link provided on the pop-up and return to this URL when you're ready to continue. Once you're ready to submit your application, you can click Submit at the bottom of the form. You must complete the reCAPTCHA prompt at the bottom of the form to click Submit. There are a couple more things that are important to know about the mini grant application. You cannot submit your application without filling out all required fields, and you will be required to complete an attestation that all information is true and accurate. You must be authorized to submit the application on behalf of your organization, and as a reminder, submission of the application confirms you agree to the purchase order terms and conditions and confirms your organization is in good standing with applicable laws and regulations. The application components for the mini grant include the eligibility requirements, applicant information, project impact, timeline, budget, uploads, and a survey. The only required document for mini grant opportunities are vendor quotes. The application review process is completed by C3 staff based on the C3 board's approved criteria. A scoring rubric is used to assess applications, and a maximum of 15 points is available. Prior to scoring, all applications must fulfill the following 3 questions. Does the proposal have all required components, including the required attachments, aka vendor quotes? Does the proposal promote a circular economy and align with the C3 strategic plan? And has the applicant passed the eligibility quiz? Applications will be scored against the scoring rubric, which is located in the grant guidelines document. C3 strives to process applications in a timely manner, but please expect and plan your project timeline out a minimum of 6 months from application submission to contract execution if awarded. Post-award. If you're awarded funding, you will receive a notification of your result via the email address provided on the application. C3 staff will work with awardees to develop a process to receive funding, including submission requirements of a final report. Applicants will be required to enter into an agreement. Terms and conditions can be found within the grant guidelines. Submission of an application confirms acceptance of the terms and conditions. No alterations will be made. Awardees will be required to accept their award and submit several items, as applicable, to complete the contracting process within 5 calendar days of receiving the award letter. This includes a W-9, electronic funds transfer form and relevant attachments such as bank letter or copy of a check, a certificate of insurance with proof of minimum requirements such as liability, auto, and workers' compensation, and CDPHE as the certificate holder and waiver of subrogation in favor of the state. The certificate of insurance is not required for public entities such as schools, cities, and counties. Once your project has been executed, changes to activities, deliverables, and requirements of the project set forth in the agreement will not be changed. Requests for these changes may result in termination of your contract and a request to submit a new application. If your application is declined, you will receive notification via the email address provided on the application. C3 reserves the right to request additional information if needed. Evaluation comments will be shared with applicants. Applicants should review the evaluation feedback, make any relevant adjustments, and consider if the project is eligible before reapplying. One entity may submit multiple applications, but are limited to 1 grant award per calendar year. Thank you for watching the pre-application video for the C3 mini grants. We look forward to receiving your application.